All right, we're live. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a couple weeks. Hope everyone is doing well. Not much has happened, so let's get into it. Mike, you want to pray?
Sure. Heavenly Father, thank you for this time that we get to spend reading your words and trying to understand your words. Please, I pray that you help us to understand them the way you wanted us to understand them, and to keep them in our hearts and remember them, so that we could glorify you and live according to your ways. Thank you for everyone here, and thank you for Isaiah, even though he's not here with us. Hopefully he'll be able to join us next week. Again, thank you for everything. Amen.
Amen. Where are we? The screen does add 10 pounds, huh?
No, I think it's just the food we eat.
Yeah, okay. I just know we're just fat.
Yeah, chapter 15.
All right, last time we did what, 13, 14, right?
Yeah, we did 13. 13 was just all those parables.
Yeah,
about
parables.
The kingdom of heaven. So.
Yeah, I wonder if you meet Jesus like that in real life, if he does talk like that way.
I mean, it should be word for word.
You know, obviously it's not, you know, even Christians, they know that this is written decades after Jesus died, so it's not like there's somebody following Jesus around, like, according to his word. But, you know, there is surprising a lot of consistencies, you know, not just the...
I mean, I could kind of see, like, you know, remember, like, you know, in college and stuff like that, a lot of professors were kind of like, they weren't, of course, teaching parables, but they're kind of getting you to, you know, teaching a way to get you to, like, critically think and stuff like that, you know, so I think maybe these parables are, like, you know, this ways to kind of get you to critically think about things.
Apparently, enough people remember enough of what he said to, like, write it down a lot of what he said, you know, because imagine, like, me and you having a conversation over a span of, like, what, 3-4 years maybe, right? And then let's just say if I die tomorrow, and then 30 years later, like, oh, let me write down what Benny said. You know,
right?
It's like, oh, maybe he said this, he said that. You know, maybe you can come up with a couple paragraphs.
Yeah, but I think I came across somewhere where, like, they're saying, like, people of this generation, their memory's not that strong anymore, because, like, you know, we're so quick to, like, rely on internet stuff, you know, whereas before, you know, they didn't have any of this stuff, so, you know, maybe they have...
I mean, we all came from the generations pre-cell phone, you know, we all had to memorize each other, like, you remember about at least a good, like, 8 to 10 phone numbers, right? Yeah.
Now I can't remember a single one.
Right. Alright, let's start. I'll get started. 15. The religious leaders criticized the disciples. What a surprise.
That's what yours is. Mine says defilement comes from within.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Let's see what this says.
Did they just kind of make it up forever?
Well, these latest Bibles and stuff, they kind of, I guess, break them up into topics and stuff like that. That's why, like, on certain ones, like, you know, they have these paragraph markers and stuff like that that actually break where the paragraphs would have been and stuff. But I think Isaiah reads from, like, a paragraph version. Yeah, see, that's the same here too. It's interesting. But
Defilement comes from within. Okay, that's interesting.
I mean, it's good to have different perspectives.
John Baptist, Jesus' feet more 5,000 inches, walk on the streets. Okay. Chapter 15:1. Then came to Jesus scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. Ew. But they answered and said unto them, but he answered and said unto them, why do ye also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition? For God commanded, saying, honor thy father and thy mother, and he curseth father or mother, let him die to death. But ye say, whosoever shall say this, his father or his mother, it is a gift. By whosoever thou mightest be profiled by me. And honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have ye made the commandment of God none effect by your tradition. Ye hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophecy of you, saying, this people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth, and honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching me for doctrines the commandments of men. And then he called the multitudes, and said unto them, hear and understand. Not that which goeth into the mouth defiles a man, but that which cometh out the mouth, this defiles a man. This came his disciples, and said unto him, knowest thou that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying? But he answered and said, every plant which my heavenly Father hath not planted shall be rooted up. 14. Let them alone, they be blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into ditch. Then answered Peter and said unto him, declare unto us this parable. And Jesus said, are ye also yet without understanding? Do not ye yet understand? Now whatsoever entereth in the mouth goeth into the belly, and is cast out into the draught. But those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, they defile the man. For out of the heart proceeds evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, theft, false witness, blasphemy. These are the things which defiles a man, but to eat it with unwashed hands defileth not a man. All right. Okay, so I see the house like defilement comes from within.
Yeah.
Okay, 15:1. Then came Jesus. Where was he before that? He was in Gennesaret. Gennesaret, right? What's that place? Okay, here. Okay. Then came Jesus' scribes and Pharisees, which was to Jerusalem, saying, why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of elders? For they do not wash their hands when they eat bread. And Jesus answered, why do ye also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition? For God commanded, saying, honor thy father and mother. He that curses father and mother, let him die in death. But ye say, whosoever shall say to his father or his mother, it is a gift. By whatsoever thou mightest be profiled by me. 5. What does that say?
So, with this whole context, like at least from like the beginning, how the Pharisees were accusing his disciples of
same old story.
Yeah, because their tradition, was what do you call it? Wash their hands and stuff like that. Not for the sake of it to be clean, but to be like spiritually clean, because they could have touched something that was deemed spiritually unclean.
Yeah,
Like
but
that.
Jews, they have a tradition of what's considered clean and unclean.
And then with Jesus answering, why do you transgress the commandment of God? He's talking about I think that was the 5th commandment. Thou shalt honor thy father and mother.
Yeah.
And this part regarding the gift, I guess like there was a the Pharisees or those religious leaders made a tradition, I guess, that you could you're supposed to take care of your parents as they're older and stuff. Use resources, money, whatsoever to take care of them. But I guess they made a law where you could claim that these resources, like the money, is a gift to God, and therefore you don't have to use it to take care of your parents. And
Really?
yeah,
So what do you do with that money? Are you supposed to donate it to the temple or?
supposedly, but here's here Jewish law requires sons to care for their aging parents, as stated in the 5th of the 10 commandments. However, religious leaders such as the Pharisees had a tradition which allowed some to declare that some of their possessions or money were korban, meaning a gift devoted to God. This is a spiritual equivalent of like a tax write-off, a way to shield resources from being taken from some other purpose. that loophole in tradition apparently allowed such a person to continue to hold on to these valuable items and make use of them. And alternatively, they could claim the goods were devoted to God one day and then later null out. And this way they could avoid the responsibility to care for their parents.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I never heard of this before.
Yeah. I had to look up that word. It's like I think it came out in Mark maybe or Luke. Hey Jason, how you doing? We just started. We're going over the first 20 verses 15.
What's up, man? How's it going?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. I had my volume down. Sorry.
Are you at McDonald's?
Yeah, McDonald's, yeah. My son.
Every Sunday, you're there at McDonald's reading the Bible with us.
Yeah.
Huh? How you been?
Good. Hope you guys are all good. Is Isaiah online today?
No, he couldn't make it today.
Okay. So is it Matthew
Chapter 15.
15 already? Wow.
Yeah. We're just going through that first section, the first 20 verses right now. They're using it to help me as well.
Pharisees had a tradition of someone declared Corbin. Corbin, okay.
I've been using that a lot. It's got my notes too. So it might seem pretty familiar.
Okay, so in 15:5, he's saying, well, you guys have figured a workaround when it comes to honoring your father.
Yeah. So that's what he was meaning by like, well, transgress. Why do you guys transgress the commandments with your man-made traditions?
Okay. 5. But ye say, whosoever shall say his father's mother is good, and whatsoever thou mightest, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me. That's a
Mightest.
Mightest.
That thou mightest be profited by me.
What does that mean?
It is a gift by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me. It's just.
Can we turn the audio a little lower on that?
Well, here's again, which one's 5, right?
Yeah.
Because when you look at the thing, sometimes, the different versions kind of help, but you say, if anyone tells his father or mother what you would have gained from me is giving to God.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you would have gained from me?
Yeah. That thou might just,
Okay.
yeah, that's what he's saying, whatever, and that quote was that he later kind of asking about.
6. And honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus hath ye made commandments of God of none effect by your tradition.
Basically, like, you just disavowed, like, the fifth commandment of thou shalt honor thy mother and father.
Okay, the honor is not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have ye made the commandments of God. 7. Ye hypocrites, well did I say this prophecy of you saying, this people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth, and honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Okay, so I heard, this is a famous saying, right? Draw nigh unto me with their mouth, honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. I heard that one before.
Yeah, that's Isaiah 29:13. Wherefore the Lord said, for as much as his people draw near me with their mouth and with their lips do honor me, but have moved their heart far from me, and their fear towards me is taught by the precepts of men.
Okay.
It's kind of like what's going on right here,
So he's comparing himself in front of the Pharisees, comparing himself to Isaiah.
He's just
Quoting him.
yeah. Because of course, like the Pharisees, they should, know of Isaiah that they study scriptures pretty intently and stuff.
9. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines and the commandments of men. What?
That's kind of like the end of the fear toward me is taught by the precept of men, basically, you know, the doctrines of, you know, the man-made traditions and stuff.
Yeah, see, like I said, man, like that. No wonder, like, the Pharisees and Sadducees wants him dead, because he can just like quote Old Testament like out of random. He memorized the whole thing. So every time, you know, that's not how I see it. I'm sure that's not how they see it.
Yeah.
You know. So anytime when they try to accuse him of something, he like flips it around, uses scripture against them. That's what pisses them off. And then he called the multitudes and said to them, "Hear and understand. Not that which goes into the mouth that defiles a man, but which comes out of the mouth that defiles a man." You know. So this is interpreted as this is another famous one. You know, it's like, oh, it's not about what you eat, right? Because the Jews, they always had a tradition of like, oh, don't eat this, can't eat that. That's not kosher.
Which
Yeah,
is
so
clean,
he's like-
unclean and stuff. Yeah.
And, you know, I want to see what the internet has to say about this. If there's anything interesting.
Oh, what?
11.
Right.
It's weird. The Pharisees believed they were demonstrating religious faithfulness by following traditions of leaders who come before them. One tradition has become a requirement for its ritual. It is important to miss the point disagreement. Jesus is not condemning all washing hands before eating. He is implying there's no reason. But Christ denounces condemning false ideas that ritualizes tradition could make someone spiritually clean. That's why he says in this verse, what goes into a person's mouth isn't what defiles him, but what comes out of a person's mouth that causes the person to be spiritually unclean. This would have sounded radical to most Israelites. Not only was Jesus teaching that following the hand-washing tradition did not make a person clean. Jewish people absolutely believed they could be made unclean by eating specific food, like pork. It's no surprise the disciple asked him to explain. All right.
Dude, you know what's weird? So
Yeah.
I look at the NIV, and then this is like with the King James, right? And then in red, it should be what Jesus said. No matter in what language or whatever, it's like what he said is what he says, right? But then if you read it in the King James, it says hear and understand, but then in the NIV it says listen and understand. It's like, dude, did he say hear or did he say listen? You know what I mean? That's what's kind of like what's kind of throwing me off, because you would think that this is literally like what he said, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, dude, they just like translated it to like however. So it's like, is this even what he actually really said? You know what I
We
mean?
don't know. We don't know. I mean,
That's how it's like, oh wait, what?
maybe if you examine the Greek word,
Yeah,
then it's probably just like,
I've been kind of doing that a little bit too. Whenever I was telling you, I think about concordances and stuff like that. You could like look up certain words that appear in the Bible, and then it'll kind of actually, you'll find out what verse it relates to, and it'll kind of say like, you know, this here means like to listen or under, you know. So it just kind of like that thing about the sword, you know. Like at first we thought it was like, you know, the typical soldier sword or whatever, but it ended up being like that belaying type of sword, you know, smaller sword. That was basically
still
like
a
if you're looking
sword.
at, yeah.
Still a sword.
It's a sword, but it's
Yeah.
like a
First, I
different type.
it says a sword. Then we thought it was a knife. Then I researched more. I was like, no, it's still a sword that could be used to, was it separate the fishes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
fillet the fishes or something like that.
Okay. 12. Then came his disciples to send unto him. Knowest thou how the Pharisees were offended after they hear this thing? Of course they're pissed off. Yeah, but you know what though? It kind of feels like, and this is just kind of what I'm seeing so far, right? Jesus, like he's Jewish. He comes from a Jewish community. He's very familiar with Jewish traditions, and he memorized pretty much the entirety of the Old Testament, right? So he's just this wild card. Goes out like, does whatever he wants, breaks local rules, customs, and traditions, and people says, hey, you're behaving out of social norm for our community. And he'll just like use a quote a scripture to like prove him wrong. But it's almost like he picks and chooses, right? It's almost like this is how I see it. Like he'll do something and only after he's accused, then he'll just say something to his accusers. That's kind of what I've been noticing.
So
It's
what-
not like
Yeah.
his teaching and his saying is not like consistent in that way. And there is consistency in terms like I am God, I am Messiah, and all that. But whenever he's accused, he's just like kind of pick and choose from any of the Old Testaments. It's like, well, you guys did this, because like for in this case, like okay, he's saying, well, there's accusing him like, hey, you and your people are not washing your hands. We all wash hands here in our community. We've been doing this for 1,000 years. It's like, yeah, well, you don't respect your parents the way you're supposed to, so why accuse me, right?
I think what he's trying to get at is he's trying to point out that they're understanding their pride that they that I'm this high religious leader and stuff. You gotta listen to me. I think he's kind of attacking that more and kind of pointing out their hypocrisy in not necessarily understanding the way that it was meant to be understood.
So if he is God and he is the Son of God, if he is the Messiah, then he is here to help and teach and spread a message. But if he is just a normal person, then he's just going around breaking all the rules, pissing people off.
Possibly, but again, like a lot of these traditions were just man-made traditions and stuff like that. Again, like it all came down to at first the foods and stuff like that, but then they were saying like, oh yeah, if I touch something else, it goes into my body, then that they're kind of going a little bit further than that, than what the real intent was and stuff. And I think that's what he's trying to point out to them. Because at the end, like what they kind of came up with, in this case of the gift to God and stuff.
I mean, for example, this verse we just read, I think it could have easily been, for example, if Jesus didn't honor his parents, the Pharisees accused him of not honoring his parents, he could easily come out like, hey, well, you guys don't wash your hands. Like,
I don't think because there was no rule for washing hands.
right. Okay, 13. But he answered and said, every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted shall be rooted up. Let them alone, let be blind leaders of the blind, and if the blind leads the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. Then Peter answered Peter and said unto him, declare unto us this parable. So, Peter don't understand either. He just says, are ye also yet without understanding? Do not ye yet understand, and whatsoever enters the mouth of the belly and cast out into this drought? I'm lost.
Yeah, so basically casting drought is like basically like the I think like the drought was something like a toilet or something like that. So like
What's 13? Every plant which my Father has not planted shall be rooted up.
that's just part of kind of referring to scriptures again. Let me see it,
Okay. Is that another?
Yeah, like Isaiah 60:21 states that the people also shall be all righteous; they shall inherit the land forever. The branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may glorify. So it was like kind of like a common reference, especially to the Jews back in the time that they were like the plants of God.
The Jews often describe themselves as plants of God. Really? I didn't know that. The planet of God, not planet, represents national Jews who neither understand nor practice true righteousness, like weed and tares. Those impossible be rooted up and destroyed. Always everything would root up and destroy or burn and cast away.
Yeah, that's like how a lot of the Old Testament read and stuff like that. What was the words that were in the Old Testament? So again, he brings those up because he knows that the Pharisees should
Let
know
them
those
alone,
verses.
let the blind leader, let they be blind leaders of the blind. The blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. Okay, I get that. Yeah. Do you notice that whatsoever enters the mouth goes into the belly and is cast out into the drought?
Dude,
17.
so NIV says, leave them, they are blind guides. If the blind lead the blind, both will fall into the pit. Peter said, "Explain the parable to us."
Mhm.
Jesus says, "Are you still so dull?" Jesus asked them. Don't you see that whatever enters the mouth goes into the stomach and then out of the body? But the things that come out of a person's mouth come from the heart, and these defile
Okay.
them.
So okay, so King
It's so
James
much
version.
easier to understand.
Yeah, it is.
It's like, oh, when I read this, and if I wouldn't have read that, I would have
Yeah,
thought
it's like,
something different.
what goes in the mouth goes to the belly, right? Okay, I understand. It's cast out into the drought. Like what drought? And then he reads that it's expelled. So he's talking about whatever goes in here goes to the stomach, and the
Yeah.
stomach you're shitting it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They went to the toilet.
Cast out into the drought means going to the toilet.
There was a funny term, a phrase that I came across in the Old Testament. He covereth his feet means he's taking a dump.
He covers his feet.
Covereth his feet.
Why?
I guess maybe when you pull your pants down too.
Okay. I imagine they squat.
It's kind of like how we said, like, take a leak. You know?
It's a drought.
Take a leak.
But what's funny to me also is that in some of the Old Testament, when they're saying like taking a leak, you know, he that pisseth against the wall, referring to men and stuff like that. You know? They actually say that.
splash, like trousers and tourniquets.
It was like interesting. So we have some interesting things.
Oh, of course.
Of how they used to speak back then.
18. Yeah. If we started with New International Version, this exercise be easier. But you know, this is a legit one. Since we already started, might as well.
I like it though. It's, I don't know.
Yeah.
I got used to the.
You got used to
wording,
it? Yeah, me and Jason were not there yet.
Yeah, but it's like, I still feel like if you're used to reading it, but it's like, do you understand it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why we're stopping so much and breaking every single line down. 18. But for those which proceed out of the mouth came forth the heart, and they defile the man. But for those things which proceed out of the mouth come from the heart, and they defile the man. Okay.
Yeah,
So
kind
he's
of.
saying don't talk shit.
Kind of, yeah, because
Yeah.
19 will kind of elaborate on like what those things in the heart would be.
For out of the heart proceeds evil thoughts, murders, adultery, fornications, theft, false witness, blasphemies.
And then these are the things which defile the man. But
But you eat
yeah,
with unwashed hands defile and that. So he's just making up new rules. At least from the perspective of the Pharisees.
possibly.
Yeah. Because it's not like there's no New Testament before that. He is literally creating a New Testament as he's living and breathing. Right? So it's like, it's not fair to the Pharisees. Even if what Jesus is saying is true, it's not fair to the Pharisees.
Well, I think
Right? Because they
again,
didn't know. It's not like, hey, we've been doing this for hundreds of thousands, more than 1,000 years. And then here you come along and you're saying, oh, this rule applies, that one, don't ignore it. You know. And then he's like, of course the Pharisees are going to be like, where are you getting this from? Right? And to them, it'll be like, stop making things up on the spot. Because he's just saying, hey, you know, it's okay to not wash your hands, you know, but, you know, make sure whatever comes out of your mouth, the words you say that's more important than what you eat or all these old traditions. You know?
he's basically trying to set them straight again in their understanding of the original law. But then they've gotten used to these traditions that were, these oral traditions. They called it basically the oral Torah.
Oral Torah.
Yeah, because I guess there's some belief that aside from the laws that were written down by Moses, there were some that were verbally communicated and passed down. And then, of course, it could be like playing a game of telephone. You know what I mean?
It absolutely is. Okay.
That's so weird. It's kind of like, if you think about it, like, you know how you watch that movie, The Usual Suspects?
Right.
And how that quote is like, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing everybody he didn't exist.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you know, in these guys' eyes, it's like, dude, we're set, right? All of a sudden, there comes this guy telling us, dude, no,
Yeah.
no, it's not like this. It's not like this.
Yeah.
No. Why are you doing like this? Well, why do you have this rule? Why do you have that? It's like switching everything up. It's kind of like,
It is. Yeah, that's
who's
exactly
not to
what it's
say he is him? You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, they were
He's the one who's just like messing around and trying to change things up and like,
Yeah.
you know, like lead
Right.
us in the wrong path now. You know what I
I mean,
mean?
just imagine like you've been doing it away
For
certain
thousands
ways,
of
for
years.
hundreds, close to
Hundreds.
thousands, yeah.
But
And not just you, but you and your neighbor, your parents, your grandparents, your kids, your neighbor's neighbor, your entire community's been doing things this way. And then here comes this guy who's also from a community, and he's just like,
But of course, there's still a few like Pharisees, and you know they don't really talk about much, but we do hear of like Nicodemus. I forgot the tomb that Jesus was buried in. He was a Pharisee as well, I believe.
Mhm.
You know, but they believe in him, but of course they can really be
Yeah,
open about it, kind of like almost like now where we can't really show our patriotism because you know we'll get canceled and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
all right. Cool. 2131. You want to go, Mike?
Sure. And then Jesus went thence and departed into the coast of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out to the same coast and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil.
Another one, huh?
But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she cried at us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, It is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to the dogs. And she said, Truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Then Jesus answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith. Be it unto thee even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. 31, you said? And Jesus departed from thence and came nigh unto the Sea of Galilee, and went up into the mountain and sat down. And great multitudes came unto him, having with them those that were lame, blind, dumb, maimed, and many others, and cast them down at Jesus' feet, and he healed them. Insomuch that the multitude wondered when they saw the dumb to speak, the maimed to be whole, the lame to walk, and the blind to see, and they glorified God of Israel. So I know you're thinking about the dog part, right? You think that was kind of mean of him?
Well, you tell me. You tell me.
Yeah. We'll get there. Go for it.
Okay.
It does sound harsh at first, but when you kind of
Okay,
understand.
okay. Yeah, let's try to understand it, right? Let's try to understand what it's all about. 22. So a woman from Canaan came over. She's not an Israelite.
No, yeah, because they're in Tyre and Sidon now, which is like
Okay.
kind of upper Phoenicia.
You have a map?
Yeah.
Let's see this guy's Sidon, Sidon.
Sidon, right?
Sidon's, yeah. Up here. In like upper Phoenicia.
Okay, modern day.
I think Sidon is Ohio.
Sidon's higher.
Yeah. Tyre. Two different
Okay.
cities, yeah.
It's like modern day Jordan.
Something like that, yeah.
Sidon.
I thought that's where they got the term Sidonian from.
Okay. Oh Lord, thou son of David, my daughter is grievously vexed with the devil.
Yeah, it's interesting how like because usually like people from that area were generally pagans and stuff like that had
Are they pagans?
Yeah.
Canaanites?
for the most part they
Because
were like
they're
they
still
followed, like,
Semitic folks.
yeah,
Yeah.
but they were the ones who were cast out, because of their idolatrous worships and
Okay.
all that stuff.
23. He answered her not a word, and his disciple came beside him, saying, Send her away, for she cries out. What do you mean send her away? Like tell her to go. Right?
Yeah.
So his disciples also like was named too.
I think they were just getting annoyed with her just like her hounding them, harassing them and stuff like that. It's like either a healer or send her away. I feel it's like what they were trying to say, you know?
Okay, 24. He answered and said, I am not sent unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel, but okay.
And the reason why he considered them lost sheep is because the religious leaders were, again, kind of what we read about, blind into a pit.
I need to bring my laptop. I have like notes in there. That one. Okay, so let's stop right there. Jesus doesn't want to heal her daughter because she is not an Israelite. Yes?
So I don't think necessarily. I think there's a teaching point to this.
Okay.
And you know, I think he was planning to, but you know,
You're speculating, right?
not necessarily.
Okay. But didn't he heal some other non-Jewish, non-Israelite?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We read that.
Exactly. That's why it's like I think he was gonna do it if especially if the faith was gonna be there, which she did have. You know.
It's like so far we read so many countless times. He healed this, he healed that, you know, cast out devils, you know, and not necessarily a single one of them were Jewish or Israelites. So why would he all of a sudden would that become an issue for him now? And then we just read a few chapters ago, like, he sent his disciples out to like, hey, go to the all the multitudes, everyone. Did he say go to not the Israelites?
No, but not the Gentiles.
Not the Gentiles.
Yeah, when he sent them out.
Okay. She came and worshipped him, saying, help me, Lord. And he answered, it is not meet to take the children's. It is not meat.
It is not good.
Okay. It is not good to take the children's bread and cast it to the dogs. Ouch.
Yeah. So the dogs in this one, if you look up in the Greek translation, it was a Canarian. It was more of a dog that was like kind of like a pet dog of a family, you know. So it was like kind of like a CK, you know what I mean?
Okay.
It wasn't like some mangy dog kind of thing, you know what I mean? It was something like we look like CK.
Research, huh? Okay.
Yeah, I've been trying to do a lot.
It's been typically referred to a house dog that slept on the master lap. It is not meat. It is not good to take the children's bread and give to the dog. And she said, true, Lord, but the dog eat the crumbs which falls off the master's table.
Yeah, I guess like referring to what he said to the lost sheep of Israel, you know, he was metaphorically saying he had a higher obligation to serve his fellow Jews, not that he despised the Gentiles.
So Jews gets priority, according to Jesus.
Well, he was sent to save the Jews.
Yeah.
It was priority.
So far, the way I'm reading it is, this woman's begging Jesus. She's not Israelite. She's begging Jesus, like, help my daughter. He ignores her, and his disciples like, shoot, woman, go away.
It does read like that, yeah.
Yeah, go away. She's annoying. And then she cries some more. He says, well, I'm only here to take care of the folks of Israel, house of Israel. And then she worshipped them, saying, oh, please help me. And then she's like, well, I'm not going to take bread that's meant for children and give it to a dog. And she's like, yes, you're right. But even the dog gets to pick up the crumb that falls off its master's lap. Like,
It says master's table here.
Yeah, master's table.
Master's table. And then finally, 20 Jesus is like, oh, okay, wow, you really denigrated yourself to a point. And your faith is great. Be it unto thee even thou wilt. What? Help me out, Jason. What does New International say? 28.
28. Then Jesus said to her, woman, you have great faith. Your request is granted. And her daughter was healed. And her daughter was healed at that moment.
Because of your faith.
Okay.
Woman, you have great faith. Your request is granted.
And Jesus departed from thence, came up nigh to Galilee, one of the mountains, sat there. The multitude shows up, laying, blah, blah, blah. Same story. 31. Insomuch the multitude was there, they saw that, 4, 5. Same story. So okay, so what did you research? Let's see.
Yeah, so Jesus sees great faith in her response. She acknowledges that he is the master and suggests that he can serve whomever he chooses with the
Jesus'
cross.
metaphoric statement merely implies he has a higher obligation to serve his fellow Jews, not that he despises the Gentiles. Jesus sees great faith in her response. She acknowledges that he is the master and suggests that he can serve whoever he chooses with the crumbs that the children have added more.
There's like a lot of like crippled and
There's a lot.
like people back then. Oh, like what the heck?
It's a great multitude.
I
We
don't
don't know what a
remember-
multitude is.
Like, you know, I don't remember the last time I saw a blind person. I don't remember the last time I saw like a mute person or really a crippled person or like
But you see dumb person every day.
I don't remember seeing
I'm sitting next to a lake right
possessed a
now.
possessed person, and it's like it just seems like they're like half the city is like that here. It's just
Either
like-
that's all true, either he just continues to heal multitudes of lame, dumb, sick, whatever, or we just a literary device. It's just like, oh, and then he does his thing again, and everyone's happy.
Like I'm wondering if like are they literally blind, or is it just like they have no focus in life? Or are they like literally crippled, or are they just like super fat and lazy? Like, you know what I mean? I'm wondering if they're mute, or if they just have like speech problems, or they just don't like to talk. I'm wondering if like it's something like that that we just don't really understand. You know what I mean? Because it seems like a lot of this stuff is just something that we just don't understand. You know?
Well, we never will, unless there's a time traveling machine.
There's some points I see like like blind, like because I'm considered to be legally blind. So
Yeah,
so
it's kind of like
do that. But then also I also think about like our technology these days and how we're able to dress things a lot easier as we're growing up. Especially like with those not food but like
Modern medicine.
modern medicine. Like we had to have like these other types of vaccinations when we were
Right.
kids growing up. Maybe without those
Of course.
end up becoming like that's how they like polio or something
I
like
was
that,
just
right?
gonna say polio. Yeah, polio killed a lot. It's countless disease. Just
Mm-hmm.
disease is the biggest killer of human mankind up until maybe the last 100 years. And the advent of modern medicine, where we understand biology and germ theory,
So
and none of that
I
was
to see it.
none of that was thanks to the Bible or any miracles.
It's the knowledge that God implanted in us. The wisdom.
Should have implanted a long time ago, man, if he meant to save more lives. Alright, well, I don't know, man. It's like, if I'm reading it literally, yeah, it doesn't seem like he's being very nice. Kind of being a dick. But if it was a literal device, then I think this story most likely was just to illustrate how faith is important, which is a general theme we read over and over again. And the whole thing about Jesus, like, believe in me, believe I am the Son of God, believe so on and so forth, right? So here comes an outsider, even though she's an outsider, but
She has tremendous faith.
because she has tremendous faith, therefore Jesus, I don't want to say embraced, but at least heeded to her beckoning, right? So as a literary device, then I can say, okay, the story kind of makes sense. But if you read it like literally, then it's like, oh wow, he's being a dick.
so. The only way she showed her faith is just like
Comparing to herself to a dog.
Just humbling herself.
Yeah,
That's
humbling
herself.
herself.
Meaning,
I think it's no, because he gave the right. So like I think the way she was exercising her faith is just believing that her daughter would be fixed.
No,
by him, right?
27, she
That's
says,
the faith, right?
27, she's like, yet the Lord eat off the crumbs which falls from their master's table. She's like,
Yeah,
oh,
but that's right before he said, "It is not
this is after.
meat
I mean, in,
to take the children's
Yeah.
bread and cast it to the dogs." And then she says, "Yet the dogs eat at the table." So he's the first person who mentions the
Yeah,
dog.
he's like, well, she's essentially calling her dog, comparing to a dog, right? It's like, I'm the master, you're the dog,
I
and
think
the children are the Israelites. So my powers and my healing and my time is meant for the children, which is the Israelites. It's like, yeah, okay, well, I may be a dog, but you're my master, and don't like get the leftover crumbs that
Yeah,
falls off
so
the
I think-
table.
Yeah, but I think like the way she's exercising her faith is just knowing or acknowledging, like, dude, Jesus, if you can fix my daughter, you know what I mean?
I know
That's
you
like
can,
how that's how she's acknowledging or
Like, I know you can do
her
it.
faith.
Just please do it. You know?
Yeah, because if she didn't have faith, she'd be like, dude, you can't do nothing, you know?
Yeah, and you could also see in verse 22, you know, she recognizes him, acknowledges him as being the son of David, King David, which was where the Messianic line was supposed to come from.
Yeah, I don't think it's not, you know, I guess or not really acknowledging herself as a dog or whatever. It's just more acknowledging that Jesus can perform the miracle.
Yeah.
And that's why he's like, oh, you do have faith.
And that's, at the end, that's what Jesus wants.
Mhm.
Faith. Yeah.
Yeah, but it goes to mean that she does understand her position. She's in a position of real humility, and I think all of you picked it out. You know, the fact that she recognized that he's Lord, and you know, clearly why was she? She's not even Israelite, but it was like in Matthew chapter 8 when the centurion
Yeah.
asked for his servant to be healed, and when Jesus says, you know, I've not seen faith greater than this, what it means is the Israelites didn't even know their God. Like this centurion knows God as being all powerful, as being singularly the only one who could do this. And they recognized, so the centurion and also this Canaanite woman recognized God in his singular ability, power to be able to do these types of things. And that's what faith is. Faith is when we realize that when we know God for who he is, we know our position to him. And even if Jesus were to say, hey, you know, I favor Israel. And if this lady said, you know, well, okay, that's fine. You can favor Israel, but you can help me too. And she acknowledged that, knowing that God would. And that's faith. That's knowing that, yeah, you can favor Israel, but it doesn't mean you're going to kick me out and knock to the side, which doesn't help me. Because you know you can. And it just says, yeah, you really, I think you really know God. You're in the land. Say the centurion. Say, hey man, I lead like hundreds of people, but you have more authority. You have more authority. I know you have authority because I know what my authority is. And so it's understanding knowledge of who God is, his ability, which is what faith is. And I think who was it? Who was it Jason? Who said Benny that Lord, you're the only one who can help me. You know, I can't go anywhere else. And that's what Jesus is saying, is the recognition that he is truly who, you know, he says he is, the Son of God, Son of David, things like that. So.
Yeah. That's what I'm picking up so far. Jesus loves people's faith, right? Like, your faith sustains me. Oh, I need more. All right, 32.
32 to close it.
Yeah, Jason.
Jesus feeds more than 4,000. Then Jesus.
5,000.
That was the
That's
first
what I
one.
was thinking.
No, there's two of them.
This is two,
Oh,
this
there's
is because
two
There's
different
the second
instances.
feeding now. Yeah.
Was this one the second thing referenced in John? No, right?
No.
He only did the
John was
first.
first.
The
Yeah.
5,000.
Yeah. I think Mark and possibly Luke did the 4,000 as well, but Mark for sure.
Okay.
So John only did 5,000?
Yeah.
How do you know that there's two different ones? I guess we'll
Oh,
find out.
we read it.
Yeah,
we'll
we'll
find out.
We read it earlier.
And I could.
Yeah. Jesus feeds more than 4,000. Then Jesus called his disciples unto him and said, I have compassion on the multitude, because they continue with me now 3 days and have nothing to eat, and I will not send them away fasting, lest they faint in the way. And his disciples say unto him, Whence should we have much bread in the wilderness, as to fill so great a multitude? Wait, hold on. And his disciples said unto him, Whence should we have so much bread in the wilderness, as to fill a great multitude? And Jesus saith unto them, How many loaves have ye? And they said, 7, and a few little fishes. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the ground. And he took 7 loaves of the fishes, and gave thanks, and brake them, and gave to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. And they did all eat, and were filled, and they took up the broken meat that was left, 7 baskets full. And they did eat were 4,000 men, and they did eat were 4,000 men, besides women and children. And he sent away the multitude, and took ship, and came unto the coast of Magdala.
It's almost identical to the.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah, but
almost
if you
the
also
Chapter 14, chapter Matthew 14,
that's the 5,000, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
13 to
It doesn't say like
21
where,
say,
where
5,000.
they were at.
5,000
It kind of
person.
Yeah, but also if you read, I think we can hit up 16, chapter 16 too. But if you want to take a quick look at 16, 9 and 10, you'll see that he speaks on 2 different accounts of the feedings.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll get.
16
Yeah, we'll
and
get to
10.
this.
Yeah.
And John?
No, Matthew. So it's just like a few verses after this.
Well, isn't the number 7 significant to Jewish traditions for some reason? I forget.
It was like, I guess for some reason it's like the number of completion or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. 16, 9, and 10.
Really? 16, 9, 10?
Chapter 16.
Oh, okay. No, just like the numerical number.
Oh, no, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's just something about 7 is like the number of completions or something.
Let's
like
find out.
So that's how he's always feeding people.
But yeah, and what, well, I can't remember exactly where, I have to look, but the first feeding of the 5,000 was mainly to like the Jewish people, the Israelites, and the second one, since he's like across the sea, is mainly to like the Gentiles.
Jesus feeds more than 5,000. Oh, there's one in 14.
Yeah, that's the first one.
7 was symbolic in ancient Near Eastern Israelite culture and literature. It communicated a sense of fullness or compassion. 7 is spelled with the same consonant as the word complete or full.
So I have compassion for
Okay.
multitude.
Yes, so 5,000 wasn't the same. See?
3 days.
See, that's 7 in
Yeah.
Hebrew, and that's complete full. You see what's similar.
Mm.
So they're almost identical.
So yeah, and
Yeah.
I had some do.
Okay, nothing special about that one, huh?
Just check it out.
Yeah, because so Matthew 16, 9, and 10 says like, do you not understand, neither remember the 5 loaves with the 5,000 and how many baskets he took up, neither the 7 loaves with the 4,000 and how many baskets he took up.
Sea of Galilee.
Yeah, so the first one was I think around Bethsaida, and the second one was somewhere around the Decapolis, I believe, which was like in Gentile territory.
Now he's at the coast of Magdala.
That was before, and then they sailed across. Magdala is on this side right here. And then they sailed across. They actually sailed across, and
Okay.
and so the Decapolis area, like somewhere around here was where the 4,000 was, but the 5,000 is up here. In Bethsaida. And then one of the things I came across in research is like the first miracle, the baskets, which the Greek word used kophunoi, were small, carried on kind of like a satchel. And in the second miracle, the Greek word for basket that they used was uratus, which is kind of like a hamper size. So that's why, like,
The first one, the basket, were small. Carry on arm, used as such. The second miracle baskets were much larger, like a woven hamper.
but it was the time that.
Well, is there any significance to that? Whether they're using small or big baskets?
Well, I mean, it helps. One thing, it helps you to recognize that they were two separate feedings.
Okay.
And then one of the things that, we might think, like, from the first miracle, how come they had 12 baskets and this time only 7 baskets, yet there's less people, but these 7 baskets were a lot bigger. You know what I mean?
Well, it don't matter, right? Because he can just
Yeah, exactly.
create
But,
bread and fishes.
that was one of the things that I was kind of thinking, 12, and 12 did, supposedly they say that it represented the 12 tribes, and also probably like the leftovers for each of the disciples to eat after they had fed.
I've heard of a certain Jewish sect. They're really focused on like locating numbers in the old Torah. They study that. They're trying to find connection as a hidden message from God. By looking at the numbers. All right. 16. JC, how's your audio? You want to read us a few verses?
Sure, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, good. 16, 1 to 12.
Sure. So the Pharisees also with the Sadducees came, and tempting desired that he would shoot him a sign from heaven. He answered and said unto them, when it is evening, ye say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning will be foul weather to come, for the sky is red and no wind. O ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky, but will ye not discern the signs of the times? A wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given unto it but the sign of the prophet Jonas. And he left them and departed. When his disciples were come to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. And Jesus said unto them, Take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, It is because we have taken no bread. Which, when Jesus perceived, he said unto them, O ye of little faith, why reason ye among yourselves, because ye have brought no bread? Do ye not yet understand, neither remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000, and how many baskets ye took up, neither the 7 loaves of the 4,000, and how many baskets ye took up? How is it that ye do not understand? I spake it not to you concerning bread, that ye should be aware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. Then understood they how that ye made them not to be aware of the leaven of bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees.
All right. So Jesus feeds a bunch of people, and the Pharisees with the Sadducees also came, and they want Jesus to show them a sign of heaven, right?
Yeah, I guess after they fed the 4,000, he sent the multitude away, and they took ship and came back up to the coast of Magdala.
This is on the east or the west side?
West side.
West side?
Yeah.
Okay.
Magdala.
Magdala is on the west side of the Sea of Galilee. So they wanted him to give him a sign, right? And he answered and said unto them, When it is evening, ye say, It will be fair weather, for the sky is red. In the morning it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and low rain. O ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky, and yet cannot discern signs of times. What does New International say, Jason?
Which one's 16?
16, 2, and 3.
He replied, When evening comes, you say, It will be fair weather, for the sky is red.
Well, it's identical.
For the sky is red. And in the morning, today it will be stormy, for the sky is red and overcast. You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but you cannot interpret the signs of the times. A wicked and adulterous generation looks for a sign, but none will be given it except the sign of Jonah.
I still don't get it.
Except the
Okay,
sign of
so
Jonah.
I had to do some research on this too, because So apparently that particular phrase, that it was like a sailor's slogan or something like that.
Mhm.
Red sky at night, sailors delight. Red sky in the morning, sailors take warning. And then
Where'd you get that quote? The ancient rhyme?
yeah,
Okay. Red sky at night, sailors delight. Red sky in the morning, sailor take warning.
I was
Okay.
trying to figure out why this is that even.
Oh, yeah.
So if you continue reading, you kind of get an explanation of that.
In the
particular-
mid-latitude, the prevailing wind patterns moved from west to east. This means that large storm systems also trend to move from west to east. With a few exceptions of the course, before modern-day forecasting, the rhyme was helpful for a way to predict the weather. With the approaching storm coming from the west, clear sky over the eastern horizon allows for the sun to shine underside the moisture-bearing clouds that are moving it. This can lead to a red sky in the morning, often means unsettling weather moving in. At sunset, when you see red skies, it means the sun has a clear path from the west. This typically means the sky is clear and quiet and the weather are on the way.
And that website is where I found this.
WKRN. What's that way out? I don't know.
Oh no, that was just a reference to
Okay.
that. I just didn't provide a reference because I was.
Despite their ability to recognize these weather patterns, the religious leaders have apparently not chosen to recognize the signs of time. They have witnessed Jesus' miraculous healing, casting out demons. They have read the words of Isaiah, and they came to see come life before their, seeing them come to life before their eyes, describe how his work with John the Baptist's disciple.
Yeah, these are stuff that
It's okay. These men are not suffering from lack of evidence, they're suffering from stubbornness. Their refusal to recognize Jesus Messiah is insincere. It's why Jesus refused to satisfy requests. Deuteronomy,
And
ye
that's
shall
another,
not tempt the Lord your God.
yeah, that's another thing that I just kind of thought of. Then on Jonas, remember we read in Matthew 12 how he's talking about Jonas being in the belly 3 days.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like repeating this particular section. Kind of reminds me of just a repetition of that.
The wicked and adulterers, all ye hypocrites, you can discern for yourself how you can.
And basically, it's almost the same thing. Exactly the same thing.
What's the sign of Jonah?
Yeah, what's the sign of Jonah?
Remember Jonah, we read in Matthew 12, chapter 12, verses 38 to 40, how he brought it up again, how I guess Jonah was a prophet who, he was in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights.
Yeah.
And so he's using that as his sign, like, I'm going to be like Jonah, but instead of being in the belly of the fish, I'm going to be in the belly of the earth for 3 days, 3 nights, and then rise again.
Sounds like Jesus got a bone to pick with Pharisees and Sadducees, right?
I think he's probably just at that point where like, well, you're just.
So
not
it's
gonna,
like, why not just show them the signs? Why not just? I mean, they came to him because they heard his miracles, and he's like, "Hey,
But
do one more miracle first."
But at this point, he's been doing all these miracles and stuff like that. What makes you think that, okay, he shows him another sign, it's like, oh, show me another sign. Show me another sign. Kind of like remember when I was asking, we were talking the last time or stuff like that. It's like, oh, what about in this condition? What about in this condition? What, you know what I mean? It's like, it seems like it would never have stopped. It would never have stopped asking, okay, show me another sign. Show me, and they would have just kind of doing that and just still not believing. So I think he's just kind of like, all right, I'm done with you guys.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to those who wanna.
Well, I guess.
Have
Yeah.
it,
Oh. But you can kind of gradually see why the Pharisees, Sadducees want him dead. I don't think that was made so clear when we read John.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, it seems like he was getting unfairly picked on by Pharisees, Sadducees, and it was just killed towards the end. But here with Matthew, you can kind of see like their interaction and how they led up to like his repeated disobedience and insults, right? I mean, I'm gonna try to put yourself in like the Pharisee side of
Oh yeah,
shoes.
I understand, but
they're from their perspective. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, they, of course they don't like this Jesus guy too much.
I mean, yeah, you'd also naturally you'd be like, once when there's someone in power, you don't want to lose that power. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
for you to accept Jesus like that, you have to accept that you're gonna lose your power too. He's gonna reign above you, and they, being prideful men that they are, they couldn't allow some commoner to be able to do that to them.
Or just all men.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. And then he left them departed. And when his disciple came to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. And then she said to them, take heed and beware leavened bread and Pharisees and Sadducees.
Just 11, not that word, just 11.
Oh,
Take heed and beware.
just 11.
Because 11 is basically like the yeast that makes the bread rise.
Okay. Take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. What does that mean?
So he was using leaven in this metaphor for leaven they use as a metaphor for something insignificantly small, and
Okay.
it grows into something really big, kind of like again yeast in bread and stuff like that. But here it means that hypocritical, false, man-made doctrines of the Pharisees and Sadducees. Declaring it a gift or washing the hands and stuff like that.
Oh, we talk about that because his disciples, they're just hungry right now, right?
Yeah, well, so I think that's one of the things, because they kind of mistook what he was saying, because they were thinking about that they didn't bring bread, and then he mentions leaven, which is of course associated with bread. You know what I mean? But that's when he starts to say, dude, what you guys live faith? Don't you remember what I did? I can provide for you. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about this warning I'm trying to give you about the Pharisees and the Sadducees.
Okay.
That's kind of
Take heed and beware the leaven of the Pharisees. Okay. And then the reason also saying, it is because we are not taking any bread. It's like, we hungry. We hungry right now. And Jesus received, oh, you look like, why reason amongst yourself because you have brought no bread? Yeah. It's like, why argue, right? Do you not understand, neither remember the 5 loaves, 5,000, how many baskets you took up, neither the 7 loaves and 4,000, how many baskets you took up? How is that you do not understand that I spoke unto you concerning bread, that you should beware of the leavens? Okay, so a couple of his disciples hit up Jesus like, yo, we didn't get to eat, we hungry. He's like, yo, pay attention to what just happened with the Pharisees and Sadducees. He's like, yeah, but we're starving, Jesus. Like, oh, ye of little faith. Listen to the message I'm telling you. Don't worry about the bread. 12. Then they understand how he bade them to not be aware of the leaven of bread, but out of doctrine of Pharisees, Sadducees. What are the Pharisees, Sadducees? Okay, they want a sign, and Jesus turned it down. Okay.
That's funny. What if they were to say, no, Jesus, we're not talking about that bread. We're talking about this other bread.
Give me some food.
I mean, yeah. It doesn't necessarily say that they wanted bread. They just realized that they forgot to take bread. Maybe they weren't hungry yet, but of course they're worried about, okay, what do we do yet? What are we going to do?
It seems like they're pretty, it doesn't say they're hungry. I'm assuming that, but they're definitely asking for bread a little aggressively.
Yeah, because they're worried about, and that's kind of like what we need to, I guess, try to understand from this is like, stop thinking about worry about all these, and just worry about God and have to make sure, understand that He's
that
gonna,
is the message. That is the message.
He's gonna provide for us.
Yeah, don't worry about this. Don't worry about that.
I got you. That's what He's telling you. I got you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Just have faith.
Faith. That's all it is.
Just have faith.
And here we're about to start. Peter declares faith. What does your thing say?
The confession of Simon Peter.
Okay, Simon Peter. I'll go. When Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea,
And it's based off of Caesar.
Yeah, Caesarea Philippi. Where's that?
It was 25 miles north of the Sea of Galilee.
Okay. Hey, you do your homework, man. It helps me out. Saying, who do men say that I am the Son of Man am? And they said, some say that thou art John the Baptist, some Isaiah, Elias, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. And he said unto them, but whom say ye that I am? And Simon Peter answered and said, thou art Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus answered unto him, blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say also unto thee, that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I shall give thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And whosoever shall thou bind the earth shall be bound in heaven. And whosoever shall loose on earth shall also be loosed in heaven. Then charged he his disciples, they shall tell no man that he was Jesus the Christ. So Jesus went up north, about 20 miles, and he asked his disciples, who do men say I am the Son of Man am? What does that mean?
Who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? He's
Oh.
like, yeah.
Who do people say the Son of Man is?
And they say to him, some say you are John the Baptist, some say Elias, some say Jeremiah. Jeremiah is the Old Testament prophet, right?
Yeah, Jeremiah, yeah.
Jeremiah.
He has his own book as
Or
well.
one of the prophets. And he said to him, but who say ye that I am? But he said, okay, what do you guys think I am, right?
Mhm.
What about you?
Yeah. Is that what it says? What
What about you? Who do you say I am?
All right. I enjoy a good challenge. We'll get used. We'll get used to this. And Simon Peter said, thou art Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus, apparently he liked that response very much. It's like, I can tell it tickled him pink, right? And Jesus answered, blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah. What's the Simon Bar-Jonah?
So Bar-Jonah is literally means son of Jonah, Simon, son of Jonah.
Okay.
We'll see John 1:42. And he brought him to Jesus, and when Jesus beheld him, he said, thou art Simon, the son of Jonah. So we know that his father, Simon Peter's father, is Jonah, so that's what he's saying.
Okay. For flesh and blood hath not revealed unto thee, but my Father which is in. Okay, what you got there, New International?
For which one? 17? Jesus replied, blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by Father in heaven.
Okay.
But
What
by
does
my
it mean-
Father in heaven.
What does it mean by not revealed to you flesh and blood?
Like kind of guess on your own,
Like in
But-
person?
yeah, by yourself. You like God implanted that notion into like he didn't come to it all on his own, I guess. He didn't
Okay.
put that notion on.
And I said in verse 17 that you are Peter, and upon this rock, so this is the creation of the Catholic Church, this very moment. That's awesome. This is the very second when Catholic Church was built, was established. And upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I will give thee the keys of kingdom of heaven. Whosoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whosoever shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. He charged his disciple that said, shall tell no man he is Jesus the Christ. So
yeah, the rock on which Jesus will establish his church
What-
is the confession that Peter makes. Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. So that's what the church was.
how is it that? Okay, I'm looking at 17, the second sentence, right? For flesh and blood has now revealed it unto thee from my Father which is heaven. He's like, so what's your interpretation of that? Is it like, oh, you didn't figure this out on your own, but the Father helped you?
Mhm.
Is that what he's saying?
Yeah. Because I mean, so
Well, so why would the Father help Peter understand
It's
he
like
is
the work of God, right?
Jesus of Christ and not his other 10 or 11 disciples?
Well, because Peter was kind of like the spokesman of the 12, and that's why he was kind of the leader. And that's why he's known as the Rock. He's always the first one in to like
Really?
do something. Yeah.
I didn't get that impression
Oh,
reading
really?
Matthew so far. Or did I? Am I just
Yeah, because he always seems to be the one to speak out
really?
first. Yeah.
Do you get that impression, Jason? I don't.
Oh no, I'm just reading this stuff.
Peter.
But it's weird how in here it says, "And on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it." Well, this one says the gates of hell. It's like, why would they put Hades in there and not hell?
So I guess that's what we can look up the
Isn't that
original
like
Greek.
an easier interpretation of just hell?
Well, that's because that's where we are more accustomed to.
Yeah, but it's weird that
Peter declared okay.
in the King James it says hell, and then NIV says Hades.
Oh, I think there's a reason for it, because isn't there like, I think there's a movement where they want to make the Bible less offensive
Oh, so they
to
don't want to
kids.
say hell?
Yeah. I don't know if that's one example, but I do know
Oh.
there's people who's like, oh, we don't like the idea of hell where,
Oh,
our
so
children read
Hades
this.
to like confuse people.
Yeah, so maybe they don't want. I don't know. We can maybe do Google that, see if New International Version has any
That's
word of hell.
strange. Maybe
Let's see here.
gates of Hades will not overcome it.
16. Okay, I'll do.
Because for me, not really knowing much, I'd be like, dude, what's Hades?
Yeah, ESV uses hell.
They do.
Yeah, ESV, but NIV
That must
uses-
not be the case.
Well,
For that-
ESV is more literal translation of. It's still like in between NIV and King James. Yeah, it is.
All right. Moving on. Jesus foretell his death and resurrection. 21. From that time forth began Jesus to shew unto his disciple how that he must go unto is Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and chief priests and scribes and be killed and be raised again on the third day. Okay, so he actually tells his disciples here in Matthew, because I remember in John he didn't. He kind of alluded to it. Kind of says, "Oh, it will all be revealed, or you will know."
Yeah, it seems like this point, like ever since like Peter's confession of the Christ, the Son of the living God, that Jesus seems to start preparing his disciples for when he's going to be done, to basically go continue his work.
Yeah, the way John was written was kind of like till the very last minute. He doesn't even. He's still not. Remember, it was the Last Supper. He was like, "Okay, I must be on the way to fulfill the prophecy." And even then, he doesn't state like, "Oh, this is gonna happen and I'm gonna die." But I guess in Matthew, I'm assuming Mark as well. Mark and
But Mark is like,
yeah.
kind of still straight. It's okay forward.
Then Peter took him and began to rebuke him, saying, "Be it far from thee, Lord, this shall not be unto thee." What does that mean? Tell me it ain't so.
Yeah. Don't do
Say
this,
it's not true.
Say it's not true.
Okay. Be it far from me, this not be unto thee. And he turned and said to Peter, "Get thee behind me, Satan, thou art an offense unto me, for thou savorest not the things that be of God, but those be of men." That's not nice. Isn't Peter's like his supposed favorite disciple?
No, that's John.
Oh. Which John?
The disciple John
John
of the gospel.
Peter's just the rock.
Mm, not the Baptist.
No, the one who wrote the Gospel of John.
Oh, okay.
Remember, he's one of the beloved. He was in his bosom at the Last Supper.
Okay. What makes that John so special?
I'm not quite sure.
Have we read anything about John? I don't.
Not so much.
We read a few about John the Baptist, but
Yeah. There's not much here in John, but we, from what we normally see in all four Gospels, is that, the main core seemed to be Simon, James, and John. Because when in the next chapter, that's who he takes up to the mount for his transfiguration.
no
Just
sense.
those three disciples.
It's funny how Jesus called him Satan.
Right? That's not nice.
It says, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me.
Yeah.
You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns."
Right. So Jesus tells all his disciples, like, "Oh, I'm gonna be persecuted. I'm gonna be dead," and then Peter's like, "Oh no, Lord, please don't do this. We'll miss you."
Yeah, he
You know?
said, "Never,
And he's
Lord.
like,
This
"Get
shall
behind me,
never happen to
Satan."
you."
What it means to follow Jesus. 24. Then said Jesus unto his disciples, "If any man will come after me, let him deny himself, and take up his cross, and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life for my sake shall find it." For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world, and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he shall reward every man according to his works. Verily I say unto you, there will be a standing here, and which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man come into his kingdom. All right. 24. If any man shall come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. All right. Hit me with a New International.
24.
Yeah.
Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me.
Okay.
Who wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it. What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? For the Son of Man is going to come in his Father's glory with his angels, and then he will reward each person according to what they have done. Truly I tell you, some who are standing here will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Some who are standing here will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom.
Pretty self-explanatory. Do you have any notes on this portion, 24 to
Whoever
28?
wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take
Will
up
you-
their cross.
Think about 23, like he calls them Satans because Peter's kind of thinking
Yeah.
on earthly terms and stuff like that,
Right. Yeah.
and for him to have Jesus not do what the Father willed, then that's basically giving into Satan and stuff
Yeah, I
like
could
that.
see that from this perspective. Yeah.
So he's just basically saying, like, dude, you guys have to die with me.
Yeah, well, 24.
Like, if you want to be my
yeah.
disciple, you basically have to suffer the same as me. Like,
Well, at least be ready for it mentally.
Mhm.
Right. Like, he wants subservience, blind subservience.
Mhm.
what good will it be for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul?
No, let's see what you got for it.
Or what can anyone give in
Take
exchange
up his cross,
for their
refers to the
soul?
death march of the Christian disciples, who was figuratively sentenced to crucifixion over the decision of all.
Someone is going to come in
Persecution
his powers,
complex.
for the Son of Man
Christians must be prepared to give his
his
life for
Father's
Jesus,
glory.
follow me. Yes. See, verses like this is how one can take the gospel and use it to commit violence. Yeah. Oh, we got 28. Okay, let's see what else we got. The promise seems to refer to Jesus' transfiguration, which foreshadows his resurrection glorification. Many different explanations suggested what Jesus meant by this prediction. Most scholars and commentators agree that he is referring to the transfiguration. Literally, the very next event mentioned by Matthew. Jesus will be transfigured from his fully human from his fully glorious become the Son of God. His face will become shining like the sun. His clothes will become white as the light. Peter, James, John will be honest in the bed. Small number interpretation believe Jesus implying the disciple will not die before seeing him resurrected. Yeah, we're seeing him. That's kind of what I thought. Paragraph number 2.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing the coming of Holy Ghost Pentecost. We're seeing the increased number of people believing in Jesus. Even a small number connect this prediction Jesus to the resurrection Jewish temple. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
The transfiguration seems most natural. Let me read this again. It seems to me who will taste the death until they see just.
Something seems kind of short.
Yeah,
27.
let's do it.
Reward each person according to what they have done.
Yeah, basically, judgment, final judgment.
Hey, sorry, I gotta take off. So,
Okay.
So keep it guys next week.
All right, thanks.
Alrighty, take
Yeah,
care.
good seeing everyone.
All right,
Later.
take care.
All right, take care. See you.
All right. So transfiguration of Jesus.
Jason.
Listen, I just want to take up their own cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life but will lose it. And then he will reward each person according to what they have done. Some who are standing here will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming. So he's saying, truly I tell you, some who are standing here will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming with his Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Does that mean Jesus coming back?
So yeah, that's what we're
Refer
kind of
to
reading
the
right here.
crucifixion part, right?
Yeah,
I see
the,
something there. So he's saying like some of you guys will not die yet before Jesus comes is resurrected.
some people, some number of interpretations believe that that's what he was implying. Many have suggested that it was referring to his transfiguration, which is just the next immediate event following this. I think that's one reason why a lot of people think that, because it comes right after this verse. But you know, kind of like I'm kind of like with you guys, where I felt that was more like after the resurrection and his ascension.
Will taste death before they see the Son of Man
Yeah,
coming.
it boils down to your definition, how you interpret it. Son of Man coming into his kingdom, which I interpret as the resurrection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if Jesus coming into his kingdom means him being resurrected, lifted up to the heaven, then yeah.
Well, I mean, after reading this transfiguration process, maybe.
Yeah, but it says
Different
some who are standing here will not taste the death before. Did anybody die before Jesus? He was the first one, right?
Or
Yes.
aside from Judas.
But we haven't read about that.
Yeah.
Judas died before Jesus?
He died probably roughly around the same time.
有吗？
我不知道你们在讲什么。
Judas.
Because Judas, he betrayed him, and then it's.
How did he die?
He killed himself. He hung himself, I believe.
Oh, he did?
That wasn't mentioned in
No, it
John.
wasn't mentioned.
That was-
And we haven't gone there yet, right?
We haven't gone there yet. I can't remember if it was in Matthew, Mark, or Luke, or all three of them, or just one of them. And then it's also re-explained in Acts.
Okay. So maybe this is a reference to Judas. Some of you will not die until he is
Possibly.
resurrected.
Possibly, yeah. But again,
So he's referring to all 11 of his disciples, except for Judas.
maybe, yeah. That's why there's many different explanations of such.
Hmm.
But then again, if you want to read this next portion of the Transfiguration,
Yeah.
maybe you might have different opinions. I'm kind of leaning a little bit on this, but I still feel the resurrection.
You know what?
Session.
You read it. 1 through 13.
Sounds good. And after 6 days, Jesus taketh Peter, James, and John, his brother, and bringeth them up into a high mountain apart, and was transfigured before them. And his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elias, talking with him.
No shit?
Then answered Peter and said unto Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If thou wilt, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for thee, and one for Moses, and one for Elias. While he yet spake, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud which said, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him. And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their face and were sore afraid. And Jesus came and touched them and said, Arise, and be not afraid. And when they had lifted up their eyes and saw no man save Jesus only, and as they came down from the mountains, Jesus charged them, saying, Tell the vision to no man, until the Son of Man be risen again from the dead. And his disciples asked him, saying, Why then say the scribes that Elias must come? And Jesus answered and said, Unto them Elias truly shall first come and restore all things. But I say unto you that Elias is already come, and they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them. Then the disciples understood that he spake unto them of John the Baptist.
No.
So what do you think? Do you think like,
Well, first of all, that was pretty easy to understand.
but so like,
We don't have to go back and break down each sentence.
yeah, like, so that's why
So
I can kind of see like it being the Transfiguration too, because he's kind of in that bright white, and then also
I don't
with
remember
Elias
this
and
part of
Moses.
the Bible.
Yeah.
I don't. He went up and Elias and Moses showed up, and then God showed up. First of all, God showing up in the Bible, New Testament, is kind of rare so far.
We only heard it like once
Once in
before.
John.
No, we also heard it once in here during the baptism, because remember
Oh,
there's
yeah,
a
yeah,
voice
yeah.
that comes
yeah,
out.
yeah. Yeah, so not very often.
Not at all.
We hear like Pharisees,
I want to
Sadducees.
say at the most 3 times in one of the Gospels.
Yeah, which is still not a lot. So him making an appearance is already special. Now we got Moses and Elias. It's almost it's like this Star Wars, at the very end. The deceased Jedi in the booth. They're like, there's like, yes, we are pleased with you, young Skywalker. There's a lot of analogies between Star Wars and the Bible. The Savior, good and evil, the light versus the dark, cast away and burnt.
And what's interesting about Elias or in the Old Testament, his name is Elijah.
Elijah, okay.
How he dies, or even if he did die, if he basically got swept up in a whirlwind and never came back.
Okay. What's so special about Elijah or Elias?
He was one of the greatest prophets, probably one of the best.
What makes him so great?
He was just in that time where he was just speaking against all the fake priests and stuff like that,
Okay.
and there was a lot of idolatry at that time. He challenged. There's this one thing that was pretty funny. He challenged like I think it was the priests of either probably Baal. He's like, all right, let's have a challenge. Let's get two bulls and we'll sacrifice it, but don't use any fire. Let's see if your God could set fire, for the sacrifice. And so there was like somewhere between like 10, 12, maybe more, but there was like a lot of priests, and they started dancing crazy and nothing happened and stuff like that. And like, Elijah was like kind of mocking him, was like, where's your God? How come he's not listening? Maybe he's sleeping, maybe he's on a journey, maybe he was just kind of talking like all kinds of crap on him. right? And then so
So how did he die again?
well, and then so his thing, and so the fire never came up to for that for the Baal those priest sacrifices. But when Elijah came up with his bull and he did his thing, he prayed into the Lord, and all of a sudden fire came down from heaven and started it. And that was to prove like whose God is real God.
And how did he die again? He hung himself?
No, he got swept up into a whirlwind and never came back.
Where did this whirlwind come from?
I guess the heavens.
Okay, so the heavens is happy enough to perform a miracle to send down a flame of ball to demonstrate his power. But when this person, a righteous prophet, what I'm assuming, is about to get swept up and the heaven does nothing.
No, but I mean, he never came back down or anything like. So basically, it's like it's almost like being raptured. It seems like he was raptured.
Is that what it says? Or you just...
No, I mean, if you want to read the whole thing, you can try to.
I mean, death isn't always like a bad thing, you know?
Yeah. There's also.
But I think most of us do try to avoid death.
Yeah.
Even Jesus.
But it's kind of like how like they say like, you know, Jesus or the heavens are calling you. It's like, dude, get over here. You're like, bam, like that's how it's done, you know?
Yeah, there's also in Genesis, remember Enoch, right? Enoch, how he never died either. He just basically got raptured.
Yeah,
So that's what it seemed like what happened to Elijah as well.
Okay.
He just got raptured up. I mean, it's all.
So maybe like out there in Kansas where the family gets swept into a tornado, maybe they got raptured.
They just got raptured, like we should cry about it.
It's like, yeah,
but then we find their bodies like 10 miles away.
But if you don't find the body, then they're with Jesus right now.
Have a film, Left Behind. You can Left Behind. You know the film?
Yes, I do.
You know, right?
You saw
Before you
it?
saw
What is
film?
it?
It's a film made by a Christian.
Yeah, Left Behind. They
It talks about rapture.
if
Oh,
we sit together
Yeah.
and
All of a
suddenly
sudden-
somebody
That's like that movie that show I was telling you about, The Forgotten, I think it was called.
Yeah, it's like it's like Marvel MCU. You know, snap a finger, then half the world's gone. You know, and then it's like
I think a
The movie's
third or
about,
two
like-
thirds.
yeah
the
these
universe.
things will be happen. Yeah, somebody with Jesus and Jesus take him. We don't need a body die. You know, we don't need a body die. So we straight to the heaven.
with your body.
Yeah, we don't need a die. We don't need a die. And the film told us, it's very funny, in the whole church, everybody lifted to the heaven. Only the pastor leave the ground.
Wasn't Kevin Sorbo in that movie, or is that a different one?
What?
You know Kevin Sorbo?
Yeah.
Hercules. Yeah. He's in a lot of Christian films.
Or like 13. Then the disciples understood that he spake unto them.
Yeah,
of John the
So
Baptist. That's like, then the disciples understood that he was talking to them about John the Baptist.
Okay.
So I guess the Old Testament prophet is that.
So three of his
Elias, the
disciples.
will come first, and then it was it Emmanuel,
Emmanuel, what do you mean?
the prophet, right? Because it says, "Why are seeing the scribes Elias must came first?"
So that prophecy is Malachi 4:5-6. Behold, I will send you Elijah.
Behold, I will send you Elijah, the prophet, before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord, and he shall turn to the heart of the father to the children, and the heart of the children to the father. These I come. Okay, so Elijah needs to come first before the Messiah. John the Baptist was a fulfillment of this prophecy. Before John was born, the angel of the Lord came to Zacharias, John's father, who was stricken in years, along with his mother, who was also barren. They told him his wife would bear children, and the angel said to him of John. Luke 1:17. And he shall go before him into the spirit of Elias, to turn the fathers to their children, and the disobedience of the wisdom of the just to make ready people prepared for the Lord. He shall go from the spirit of Elias, turn the fathers to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, and make ready people prepared for the Lord.
What does it even mean to transfigure?
The Greek word for transfigure is actually a metamorpho, which of course is where we get that.
Transform into something more beautiful or elevated.
So this is like that vampire movie.
The world is made luminous and transfigured.
What are you talking about?
Twilight.
Yeah, where they start like glowing,
Yeah.
and you can't like resist it. You can't resist it.
That's what I'm picturing.
So he takes 3 guys up to the hill
Mhm.
and then transfigures.
He's like, oh, and
Yeah.
then Moses and Elias shows up, and then God,
then-
the Father, also shows up.
So that's why, like, again, many people think that.
Well, no, he didn't show up. We just hear his voice.
Yeah, that's why many people felt that, from Matthew 16:28, when, that there shall be some standing that shall not taste death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. That's why they kind of think it might refer to as transfiguration.
I don't.
I can
personally
see
don't
it, but
think so.
I kind of still think more of the ascension
Yeah.
from his resurrection.
But it's weird because I just went hiking not too long ago, and like when I was up there, like I was tired, and like when I would look at the signs, it was like kind of like moving. I was kind of like acid tripping because I was tired and everything. Up there,
That's not
everything.
good.
Yeah, everything up there looks like a lot like brighter and everything. And if you stood against the sun, you would have transfigured in front of my eyes. It's like that's kind of like what I'm kind of getting at. But what's crazy is that they say that they see Moses and Elias, then they hear God, they drop down to their face, look up, they're gone, and then Jesus is just there.
Mhm.
And then he
Arise, be
says,
not
he
afraid.
says, get up, right?
Yeah. See, Mark's account, when he says like his clothes are white, it's like his clothes are whiter than any launderer could ever bleach, a garment or something like that. So exactly how white and how bright, we don't necessarily know.
Sounds a little racist.
Then he says, don't tell anybody what you guys have seen until he has come back from the dead. Then
Why
why did
didn't
the
it say
teachers
Elijah
of the law
must
say
come
that
first?
Elijah must? The disciples asked him, why then do the teachers of the law say that Elijah must come first? What do you mean?
Yeah, so again, that was kind of like what we're talking about, the prophecy of Malachi, saying that, I will send you, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord.
Elijah comes. To be sure, Elijah comes and will restore all things. But I tell you, Elijah has already come, and did not recognize him, but have done to him everything they wished. In the same way, the Son of Man is going to suffer at their hands.
Is John dead
Then the
yet?
disciples
Yeah.
understood that he was talking
It was,
about them
yeah,
about
John.
John the Baptist.
John the Baptist is fulfilling his prophecy before John. Where are you getting this paragraph?
That's all from Luke chapter 1, actually.
Luke.
I was just I didn't want to write the whole
Yeah.
chapter, the whole
John
chapter in there. I
Baptist,
just
yeah.
wanted to show the part where it said the spirit of Elias. But yeah, once we get
Yeah,
to
because this is news to me. It's like, okay, now John the Baptist, he's a prophet too?
Mhm.
Huh? John the Baptist is a prophet.
Yeah, he was the last. He was basically.
So was he
they were
like
kinda-
Elias and reincarnate?
No, just the spirit of Elias, as you can see.
What
there.
does that even mean?
Like in his spirit, not because everybody has their own individual soul, so there's no reincarnation, but in the spirit of the same type of mindset.
Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great. See, Malachi prophesizes, at least the way I'm reading it there is, I'm sending Elijah. It doesn't say I'm sending you Elijah the Spirit, I'm sending you Elijah in another
Yeah.
body. It's
Yeah.
just, I'm giving you Elijah.
Yeah.
And then,
But we don't know exactly what context he's talking about, right? If you want to take it literally, then, but that could be the wrong context if you try to take it literally.
okay,
And that's
so,
why I try to include Luke's, this verse in Luke.
and he shall go before him in the spirit of Elias, to turn the father to the children and the disobedient. To turn the father to the children and disobedient. Okay.
So it's kind of a parallel of that particular prophecy as well.
How so?
With the turn the fathers to the children, the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to the fathers, and the disobedient of the wisdom of the just. Not so much, but at least the fathers to the children kind of are parallel right there.
It was understood that he was talking to them about John the Baptist.
And then, that last verse, 13, kind of concludes all that.
So what is the relationship between John the Baptist and Elijah / Elias? Explain to me.
Just
Is it just like, hey, we are two individuals born at different times, and yet Elijah's spirit somehow influenced John in a Holy Spirit penetrate type of way, or are they just like, hey, we're just very similar personalities?
I think the former that you spoke
The
of.
first one?
Yeah, because also when we kind of read more about, when we've read about John the Baptist, about his garments and stuff like that, like it basically, I wanted to find it, I didn't have a chance when we were, going through it, because I didn't really start doing these notes until like probably chapter 12, but there was a lot of similarities in terms of the way that they dress, how, remember how John the Baptist was wearing like, kind of like that old hairy kind of like leatherish or whatever, and so that's kind of how like
So they dress
Elijah,
similarly.
that as well, but it just seems there's like a lot of parallels between, and of course what the Bible has said in both Malachi and Luke right here is that that's
So spirits are transferable,
it's
because obviously John the
I think it's
Baptist.
just like carrying on the works.
it's like, dude, in the spirit of I want to I want to have a good dinner coming up in July in spirit of Ben. You know what I mean?
No, I think it's more like, I want to carry on like Martin Luther King's legacy and keep fighting for it, but it doesn't mean that I'm Martin Luther King resurrected.
So it's a
It's just like in the spirit.
So in that case, it's more like saying, hey, we're two different people. We just
Have the same type of mindset.
similarities. Yeah.
Well, how
Okay,
far
so-
was Elias and John apart?
I don't know,
Elias was
man.
like probably 400, at least 400 years.
400 years apart? Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
And it's kind of interesting because
Yeah.
they kind of might consider like John the Baptist the last prophet of the Old Testament, because Jesus comes in as
the great and the dreadful. Coming of the great and the dreadful.
even though he appears in the New Testament, John the Baptist, many consider him to be like the last prophet of the Old Testament. If that makes sense.
It does make sense, because before Jesus Christ, there is no New Testament,
Yeah.
according to doctrine. Right?
Yeah.
So the last prophet,
Before
the
Jesus,
one
basically.
that comes before the Messiah, is
Yeah.
Elijah. And in this case, for a reason which I remain dumbfounded by, still dumbfounded, which is, John the Baptist is the same as Elijah.
And actually, after Elijah got swept up, so
I bet you that convinces none of the Jews and Israelites, the Pharisees, Sadducees, say, hey, that's not John the Baptist, that's actually the prophet Elijah. I bet you nobody believed in it. That's probably lobbed off his head.
no, that was just the spitefulness of the wife.
of the wine.
But yeah, it's funny because let's see, where was I? Elijah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I need a little bit more to like kind of
400
the
years
dots.
later, that's already like what, maybe like 7,
Yeah, because
8 generations.
Old Testament prophecy says Messiah's here, but right before Messiah, there's going to be Elijah's coming. And Elijah was already here, so they're saying Elijah from 400 years will appear before the Messiah, and then now Jesus shows up, says, "I am that Messiah," and then they're saying, "Well, Old Testament says before you it will be Elijah. Where's Elijah?" It's like, "Oh, he's already here. You guys just didn't recognize it. It's John the Baptist."
Is that
So
what he's saying?
I want, yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm one of those guys like, "Oh, he's going to bestow that, make John the Baptist Elijah now?"
Yeah, see, what was Elijah? Elijah, oh crap. Elijah was 800 years.
800 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
His approximate dates was between 875 to 850 BC.
Okay.
Then the last prophet, at least in
Oh,
is Malachi,
no.
which was 500 to 450 BC.
Okay. Well,
So yeah,
Maybe,
Malachi spoke of someone 400 years prior to him and was prophesying on something 400 years.
too
Ahead of
bad Jason's not here
I
with
know.
us. Maybe he has some insight. Yeah, but no, this part
That's
I
in the
want-
book of Elias then?
Yes, Elijah. Oh no, actually, there isn't. He's his son in
I thought they were.
yeah, there might be non-canonical, but yeah, there isn't, unfortunately.
So there's
Alright.
nothing recorded
Well,
that he says.
It's only recorded in Kings. The Book of Kings.
They just talk about him.
He got tornado to
First and second Kings. Yeah.
He didn't bother writing anything down.
They just wrote, chronicled his some of his works, like the one I told you about that. Challenge of the
All right.
sacrifices.
Jason, you want to take 14 to 21?
Alright. Jesus heals a demon possessed boy. And when they were come to the multitude, there came to him a certain man, kneeling down to him, and saying, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is lunatic, and sore vexed, for oftentimes he falleth unto the fire, and oft he falleth into the fire, and oft into the water.
It cuts.
And I brought him to thy disciples, and they could not cure him. Then Jesus answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation, perverse
He
generation,
likes to insult people.
how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? How long shall I suffer you?
Jesus.
Bring him hither to me. And Jesus rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour. Then came the disciples to Jesus apart and said, Why could not we cast him out? And Jesus said unto them, Because of your unbelief. For verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, Remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. Howbeit this kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting. Howbeit this kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting.
Okay. This how it goes.
Jesus,
Remember the king of multitudes.
That's not 21, mine's not 23.
Oh, really?
Sorry.
Oh,
That's
does
right.
it continue?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, okay, this is continue. Sorry. There's multitudes saying, Lord. And when they were come to unto the multitudes, and came to him a certain man, kneeling down to him. Where is he right now?
So they were, they went up to, they were,
Are they still 20 some odd miles north of Galilee?
so that's the thing, there's the the place where the transfiguration took place is contested between two places.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Here, let me show you. Well, the traditional one is, I guess, Mount Tabor down here,
Okay.
but one of the possible sites is Mount Hermon right here because you know they were at Caesarea Philippi
No, that makes more
6
sense.
days, 6 days prior. Unless they could travel down there in 6 days, I'm not sure. You know what I mean? Yeah, but who knows? So.
There's no dragons back then, right?
So yeah, they seem to be from around that area.
6 days. How many miles is it?
Oh, it's a few hundred.
But actually, from Jerusalem, I think from Jerusalem to Nazareth was like because that's where Jesus was. It was about a 3-day trek. So yeah, it could have been 6. It could have made that no problem.
It's crazy, like some hiking videos. Like, dude, people are doing like 20 miles a day, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like I'm guessing that's kind of can use that as like a baseline.
Yeah.
20 miles a day,
But that's like
non-stop.
modern, but they're traveling groups. He has at least his disciples with them. And then they're not like traveling non-stop. They're stopping, resting, sleeping, eating.
Yeah. So it looks like what?
Yeah, and I don't
Okay,
think it's
so,
really.
so he's in the land of Gentiles or no?
No, he should be back down somewhere in Galilee. Let's see. Yeah.
Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is lunatic. Sore vexed, oft falls into the fire of
Yeah.
water.
It's interesting because you know how I was telling you lunatic is like kind of epileptic,
Okay.
and we're looking into the Greek word of it, Sealizes or whatever. It actually literally means moonstruck, and I guess some ancient people speculate that epileptic seizures were caused by the phases of the moon.
Oh.
So I guess that's where lunatic and epilepsy kind of correlate. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, you're right. Jesus did give him the power to heal.
Mm-hmm.
The heart is better. It's faith.
Yeah.
It's the same.
It's fake, man.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me see if we can find notes somewhere.
When I brought him to disciples, could not cure him, Jesus will say, "Oh, faithless and perverse generation." That's his own disciple he's talking
I
about.
know. But
Perverse.
of all the people, they should know. You know what I mean? Everything that they've seen. But I mean, yeah, it's tough. I mean, he's done some pretty crazy stuff. That's still like.
How long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him hither to me.
Suffer back then meant more or less allowed.
No, when you say, I don't want to suffer you, I'm just like, I don't want to deal with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one actually, yeah, you're right. It's like bear with you.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to deal with your nonsense anymore, your lack of faith. I'm not even a big Star Wars fan, but I just keep going back to Star Wars. You remember the first one, your lack of faith disturbs me, Admiral. He starts like talking about.
Yeah, so yeah, it just depends where the actual mountain was. But it was just as they're coming back down from the mountain when they see these.
And Jesus rebukes the devil.
It's funny. It's kind of like how like work. It's like hard to find good workers. It's like he's having the same issue. Like, dude, even his disciples.
It's a
like,
2,000-year-old issue.
it's like his disciples suck. He has to do it himself.
Wasn't there something about devils being after their rebuke, they need to find a new host? I didn't. Pig or they can even go
Something
back
like that, yeah.
to the original possessed, right?
Dude, I saw a thing about like the whole pig thing, and saying how like pigs are unclean animals, so like they kind of that's why the devil like I guess preferred them, and that's why Jesus was okay sending the devils into the pigs because they were considered like unclean and like filthy. You know what I
The
mean?
Jews also, Jews don't like pork because they're
So
unclean.
that's like
In reality, they're actually very clean. They're very
dirty
clean
and
animals.
dirty, you know.
We'll lock you in a cage, 2x4 feet little cage here with a few other pigs. Let's see if you don't shit and piss all over yourself. 19, and when Jesus' disciples were apart, said, "Why could not we cast him out?" Jesus said to him, Okay, this I need your help here, Jason. 2021. Hit me with a new international.
20 and 21.
He's not gonna have 21.
Because you have so little faith. Truly, I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, "Move from here to there," and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you.
And there's no verse 21 in
He said something like this before.
How do you know?
because I was doing research. I also used that Bible references.
Yeah, NIV, there is no 21.
All right, well, that's interesting. What would they admit in 21? Let's see what 21 is.
So the reason,
How be it this goes not out but by prayer and fast. Okay. How be it this kind goes not out by prayer and fasting.
so some of the things that I came across is like where some of the verses are left out is because they weren't originally included in the original manuscripts, some of the earliest manuscripts of Matthew, but in some of the later ones it did appear. And so there's speculation that this particular verse 21 was kind of drawn upon from Mark's gospel, where he, when they encountered this after the transfiguration stuff, he did mention about you need to also have this strength from prayer and fasting.
Okay, so he's telling his disciple to pray and fast.
Yeah, at least because
Okay.
prayer and fasting helps strengthen your faith is the main thing. It's not to gain power to do just by doing it. It's to gain strength in the faith so that you have more faith to be able to understand that you have been given this power by God.
Didn't Jesus just say in earlier Matthew like he and his people they don't fast?
It's not that they don't fast often, or because at least at the time.
Which one was that? Do you
Wait, so
remember?
what's the point of fasting?
It's mainly just to develop your strength for in your faith and in your reliance on God.
How so?
You talking about the fast?
Yeah.
What does that mean, the fast, right?
No, I know what fasting is. It's not eating anything.
No,
But
even
what does that have to do with why does God want you to fast? What's the point?
First, the point is clean your mind
Mm-hmm.
and your heart
Mm-hmm.
to the God. Quiet, very quiet.
One.
Yeah, it's,
No, go ahead.
yeah, it's very, very silence, and your heart is very smooth, and
By not eating?
no eating. I fasted long time is 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
6 days?
No, yeah, 6 days. Only drink water. Only drink water. Yeah, and 6 days and play, read the Bible, and I get my roll.
Yeah, it's funny because I kind of like naturally fasted without like in a religious sense. And like what I realized was like, dude, I felt because like Joe Rogan and all them they say like, dude, like us as humans, we can eat anytime, we can do anything time. We're fat and lazy. Like no matter, even like if you're healthy right now, you're fat and lazy. I'm fat and lazy. We're all fat and lazy, right? Because we can eat anytime, drink anytime, do this and that anytime. But back in the days, if you're like camping or if you're like out in the wilderness where like you have to survive and food and all that, you naturally don't get to eat anytime you want.
Mm-hmm.
You naturally are kind of like fasting in a way, right?
Yeah, because you're conservative.
Yeah, but then as like you fast or like the more hungry you are, the clearer you think, the more focused you are, because it's like a biological thing to where it's like you need that mentality to survive and get food and eat, right? Because like if you're out there and you're like super lazy, dude, how are you gonna get to water? How are you gonna get to figure out what to eat or whatever? You're gonna basically die. So you naturally have to like, sharpen your mind and everything, and that comes with like fasting. So when I wasn't eating and all that for like a while, I was still eating, but I was eating like like a fifth of what I normally would consume, you know,
And
or
then you got, your
even
spider
less
senses are
even less
tingling.
than that. And like I felt more in tune with like my body. Like if I were to have a sip of water, I could feel it like in my body right away. If I were to eat like a Big Mac, like I would feel it like my body like absorbing it right away. You know, as of now, like if I eat a Big, it's like oh, I just kind of feel a little full.
Right.
But like when I was fasting back then, like dude, if I ate that, like I could feel like it feels like nasty food. I could feel the nastiness like enter my body. It feels good food. I just felt goodness entering my body. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of feel like it's like a biological thing. But then that's why I'm asking like the Bible, like you know what.
What's the rationale?
Significance, or is it?
Well, I can tell you.
Is
what-
it a biological thing, and that they
No.
recognize back
I'll tell you
then,
what the internet says. You
Uh-huh.
wanna hear it?
or is it like a, you know what I mean?
Purpose of fasting: develop spiritual strength, including resisting temptations. Develop self-mastery, making our spirit master of our bodies. Showing humility, showing sorrow, enhancing
Maybe.
prayer,
Mm-hmm.
enhancing spiritual knowledge and testimony, obtaining spiritual guidance, helping the needy. I guess you're helping needy by not eating some food that we don't need, that they might eat more,
Consuming their resources, right?
right?
Yeah, because I remember
Yeah, but don't we read something about like Jesus, like when he was accused of like Pharisees?
Yeah, it was,
something about
Somewhere around
Fasting?
11 or 12.
11, 12?
I think it's 11 maybe.
because I read about I think the Muslim fasting or what,
Oh, yeah.
one of those other religions. They said like
Yeah,
it's,
Muslim
it's
fast.
for you to realize like this is how other people feel when they're hungry and when they're like, you know, like feeling down and whatever. So you can experience it and
Buddhism
have
has
gain like
fasting too.
sympathy for others. You know what I mean?
Or maybe they just don't have enough food and they just made it up so
Mhm.
people don't eat as much.
9:14.
9:14, huh?
Yeah.
The free system went out how custom how the midnight district.
9:14. Not 12.
Oh,
We're almost done, baby. Come on.
Dude, maybe we should just fast like all the time. That's why I want to eat like less.
Jesus' question about fasting. King John, then came to his
to go
disciple
out.
John. Goes with
Go
disciple
out.
John. Why do we and Pharisees fast often and despise not? Can the children of bride chamber mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them? In the days to come, the bridegroom shall begin, they shall not fast.
The purpose of fasting, the purpose is a deeper presence with God. With God.
Out? In? Out?
You want-
He just wants.
Oh.
I think he just wants attention. Or a toy.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
We're almost done, CK.
Okay, I'm reading 9:14. I know we went through this, but I completely forgot. And it's not making sense to
9:14.
Yeah.
Um,
God, I thought I would remember once I see
yeah, so, you know, like, fasting also was like, you know,
Because, yeah,
you can understand fasting is also a bit of
the
suffering.
first presence with God.
Yeah.
The purpose of fasting is a deeper presence with God.
neither do men put new wine in old bottles, and you put this and oil without bottle cup.
And when you're fasting, nothing food inside, you very your mind, your thought is very, very clear. It's very clear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wanna go out? You can go out. Aw, baby.
Doesn't
The wedding guests more advanced Parkinson or place concern. Jesus is John Becker, why his disciples do not fast. Go to these and other things. The law of Moses requires fasting only once a year. The scholar believes the Pharisees fasted twice a week. It is one of the many outward signs they show to assume righteousness. John the Baptist, many of this, they have followed very strict lifestyle. John himself was kind of present.
Jesus Christ fasting 40 days
40 days.
before he
After baptism.
But so how does he fast? It's just water?
Yeah.
That's it? No food at all?
at 6 days. It's okay. 6 days. Yeah,
It's
it's
funny.
okay.
Because that's what I was doing for a bit. I called it my liquid diet.
Mm.
All I did was water and jamba juice.
Yeah, that's fine.
I do liquid diet too, except with beer.
Yeah. And it's weird because biologically, yeah, that's like when you're like primal, like I think instincts kind of kick in and you do feel a lot better. And you do realize that
Yeah.
everybody around you is just fat
Does
and
that make
lazy.
sense to you? Do you believe that?
What?
What you just said
What?
about you when you fast, when you're kind of hungry.
Yeah, you
and
kind of
you're
go into like
starving.
instinct mode. Yeah, because I think a lot of the food that you eat, it makes you fat and lazy. Not like,
Yeah.
not physically fat and lazy, but mentally fat and lazy. You know what I mean?
Both.
It's like if I were to throw you out in the wilderness and I was like, hey, yeah, and you're spending the next month here, you'd be like, where's the food? Where's this? Like, whereas, you know, someone would figure it out.
The first days
You know what I
and
mean?
the second days, maybe
Mm.
you feel very hungry.
Yeah.
And after 3-4 days, it's okay. Not
Yeah.
hungry.
Well, that's good. Just give me a minute.
Yeah, so that part was talking about like, you know, the Old Testament, you know, old laws versus the New Testament.
Yeah, okay. So in Matthew 9:14, Jesus is being questioned by one of the disciples of John saying, hey, why do we fast and you and your followers don't?
Mhm.
And long story short, he's like, well, I'm the new shit. And forget it.
What was it saying?
No? Oh, what was it saying?
He was saying that, you know, right now as I'm here, you know, why are we to suffer all, you know, and be sorrowful and stuff like that while I'm here. When I'm away, then we could be, because I'm here to bring the good news and
No,
help.
that's not what it says. 14 to 17. Matthew chapter 9.
That's
right?
when he gives like that analogy of a garment.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The garment, the new cloth on the old garment, and the new wine to the old bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's saying like, I'm the new stuff. I'm the new shit. No? What is it?
Well, I'm just not using that term, but I mean, like, yeah, I'm just the new. I bring the new way.
Right.
I'm bringing a more clear intentions that it was, which the old ones you guys couldn't really figure out on your own. That
Yeah.
you guys missed the intentions of it, so I'm here to make it clear for you. That's kind of what
So,
he's doing.
right now we're on chapter 17. Just 6 chapters ago, someone hits up Jesus like, hey, how come we don't fast? Like, hey, well, no, I'm the New Testament, so I don't need to do things the old way. And right now, he's telling people, in 17:21, he's telling his people, hey, do one of the old things.
Well, again, when we were explaining what fasting was really meant for, was to get that deeper,
Clear.
stronger relationship with God, to have that faith, to have that power. What the Pharisees and Sadducees were kind of using, they weren't really sincere of the heart, and they're doing it to show to other men that they're good because I follow the law. And again, the law was meant to point out one's own sins.
So Jesus' followers and his disciples should fast because they're doing it from the sincerity of their own heart. And other people who's not doing it from sincerity of their heart should not be fasting for appearance sake.
Yeah, I mean,
So
might as well not even do anything if you're not doing it sincerely.
how do you know if they're doing it sincerely or not? If I say, hey Mike, I'm fasting because of my faith. How do you know I'm sincere, or I just want to appear that way to you? How would you know?
I might not know,
Yeah.
but it's you who will know. And that's the thing that really matters. You know what I mean? If you want to have that power, if you want to have this power that, you know, would be able to drive out the demons, you know, and stuff like that. You would have to know that amongst yourself. I wouldn't.
Yeah,
really
I
know.
like how he says you just need a grain of mustard seed to successfully cast out the devil, implying that his disciples, which he cannot suffer any longer, doesn't even have a mustard seed size of faith.
I mean, you saw in like the last chapter how like, you know, they were worried about not having bread after he fed his multitude, you
I
know.
don't know, maybe they've been fasting and they were a little too focused on bread. All right, I'll take us home. Jesus again foretells his death and resurrection. 22. And while they abode in Galilee, Jesus said unto them, the Son of Man shall be betrayed in the hands of men. And they shall kill him, and the third day he shall be raised again. And they were exceedingly sorry. Okay.
That's pretty straightforward.
Okay. Almost unnecessary. Paying for the temple tax. And when they were come to Capernaum, and that they received tribute money, came to Peter and said, doth not your master pay tribute? He said, yes. And when he was come into the house, Jesus prevented him, saying, what thinkest thou, Simon? Of whom do the kings of the earth take customs or tribute? Of their own children or stranger? Peter says unto him, of strangers. Jesus says unto them, then these are the children free. 27. Notwithstanding, lest we should offend them, go thou to the sea and cast the hook, and take up the fish that first come up then, and when thou hast opened his mouth, thou shalt find a piece of money, that take and give unto them for me and thee. All right. Now, I'd like to hear the New International for 25, 26, and 20. Well, 24 to 27. please.
The whole thing.
And 25 prevented mainly means to come before, proceed, or anticipate. So you kind of either overheard Peter talking or already knew.
Okay, yeah.
From where 24, right?
24 to 27. Received it.
After Jesus and his disciples arrived in Capernaum, the collectors of the 2 drachma temple tax of the 2 drachma, is that one
Drachma,
word?
that's
Yeah,
money, right? It's
yeah.
coin.
Of the 2 drachma temple tax came to
That's
Peter
from,
and asked,
King James.
doesn't your teacher pay the temple tax? Yes, he does, he replied. When Peter came into the house, Jesus was the first to speak. What do you think, Simon? He asked. From whom do the kings of the earth collect duty and taxes? From their own children or from others? From others, Peter answered. Then the children are exempt, Jesus said to him. But so that we may not cause offense, go to the lake and throw out your line. Take the first fish you catch, open its mouth, and you will find a 4 drachma coin. Take it and give it to them for my tax and for them. Give it to them for my tax and yours.
The tribute was collected from every Jewish male over the age 30 used to the upkeep of age. What did I say?
30. Do you need these? Try it.
Oh man, no, why?
Oh, these are just reading glasses.
Okay. The tribute was collected from every Jewish male over the age of 20 and used for the upkeep of the Jerusalem temple. How often is this collected?
Forgot it.
With the duty tax or whatever?
Yeah, forgot this.
Is it like when you arrive, you pay one time,
I think it was once a year.
and you get like a
I think it
wristband
was like once a year.
once a year?
Just-
And who does it? Is it to the occupants of the Jerusalem?
No, it was for the Jerusalem temple, for the temple itself.
Oh no, but who do they collect from?
Well, all Jewish male over age 20 and above.
Like within what vicinity?
Probably of all,
No, I'm not sure.
the Israeli cities. of Israel, you know, not like not the land of the Gentiles, probably not Samaria, you know, probably of course Galilee and Jerusalem, of course.
Alright, you have an Exodus reference.
Yeah.
This they shall give every one that passes among them are that number, half a shekel after a shekel of the sanctuary. Half shekel shall be offered to the Lord when he passes. Okay. And 20 years above, they shall offer the Lord. The rich shall not give more, and the poor shall not give less than half a shekel. Okay.
I think this was once a year.
Flat tax.
Yeah.
And when they give offering to the Lord to make atonement for your soul, and they shall take atonement money of the children of Israel. This Capernaum is near Jerusalem, right?
No.
No? And
Jerusalem
when
was
they-
closer to, I think, the
Galilee, right?
southern end of Galilee.
So they went to the temple. Some dude asked them for the temple tax.
Yeah.
He says.
I want them
Says.
not too.
From whom do the kings are
So,
required? So
Jerusalem
he
was
says,
actually-
who usually collects taxes, right?
Where's Capernaum?
Kings of
Sea of Galilee. Jerusalem's closer to the Dead Sea.
And he says, who usually pays taxes, right? Not children, but like
And when they came to
parents.
Capernaum, they that received tribute money came to Peter and
Or
said,
children from
Yeah,
They
from
that-
basically like children in your family or from others outside your family. You know, if
they
you're a
that
king.
received tribute money, tax collectors?
Jesus
24.
is the Heavenly Father's son.
Mhm.
He don't need to
Pay tax.
pay tax.
Yeah, because he's
But
a child.
Jesus at that time say, okay, we pay.
Yeah.
So they're not in Jerusalem, they're in Capernaum.
Yeah.
What was I thinking about talking about this?
Because the tax was for the temple in Jerusalem,
Oh, okay.
the main temple.
According to Exodus? No?
Even in this time as well, but it started at that time. This was like a,
Okay.
you know, but they're
So
still
they're in
following these,
Capernaum,
collecting from the
and
all Jewish males in
did they got hit up by the tax collector?
yeah.
Okay, so tax collector hit up Peter. It's like, hey, where's does Jesus pay taxes? And Peter replied, yes. All right, I guess Peter knows. And then when he was coming to the house, Jesus prevented him, saying, "What were you thinking? Of who do the kings of earth take custom and charity of their own children or strangers?"
Yeah, I mean they probably hadn't paid the tax yet and stuff, and then
Right.
they're calling, hey,
Peter said to
this-
them, strangers, of course. Then are the children free. So I was like, okay, well.
Huh.
Notwithstanding this, we should offend them. Okay, so they're in Capernaum. Peter's chilling outside. And a tax collector came. It's like, hey,
you guys
pay up. Essentially, pay up, right? It's like, I know your master's Jesus. It's like, hey, time to pay your temple taxes. And then and he went inside the house, and then Jesus almost seems like he got a little mad. He's like, what were you thinking? I'm the King of Kings, right? Do you think I need to pay taxes? And Peter's like, no. He's like, oh, it's like, yeah, damn right I don't pay taxes, but I don't want to offend them. So go out there and pull up 3 coins from the mouth of the fish.
That's weird how like change of heart all of a sudden.
Right.
Like he's like offending everybody, but all of a sudden he's just like,
Right.
alright, I'll let this one slide.
Right.
Let's just pay this and
Yeah, it's like one of those sovereign citizens, but they get pulled over by the police. You know what I'm talking about? It's like, I don't recognize your right I know, you're not, I'm a sovereign citizen. You don't have any authority over me. And the police still puts him away in handcuffs. All right. Yeah, Jesus, odd guy, man. Just kind of does random whatever he wants.
So that means Peter did go fish.
Well, we're assuming he did.
Yeah, there's nothing,
Happened.
Yeah.
there's no other, it kind of ended like on the same note as John's stories, you know, like all of a sudden it just,
Well, I guess it's implied he did.
yeah,
So
implied, but yeah, it's funny.
another one of Jesus' many miracles. He's able to pull money out of a fish's mouth. You know, rather than say, "Here's 3 shekels, pay the tax collector." It's like, go out in the lake,
First
cast
fish
a
you
line.
can.
Once the first fish you catch, bring it on board, open the fish's mouth. There's gonna be 3 coins there. Pull it out, and then go pay the tax collector. That's gonna cover me and you. All right. And that wraps up 17. 18's next. Wrap it up. Yeah. Prayer, Mike, or unless Jason, you want to pray? Nope. All right. Well, Irene, you want to pray?
I don't
中文可以啊。
中文他们听不懂啊。
It's okay. It's for him,
OK，
right?
在大把天父啊，荣耀的神，我们感谢赞美你。哦，主啊，当我们聚集在一起的时候，你就在我们中间，圣灵就在我们每一个人的心里面做工。哦，恩主啊，有你自己的话语，像粮食一样的喂给我们吃。主啊，我们里面的生命，我们里面的人就长大成熟，越来越像你，温柔谦卑。哦，恩主啊，彼此相爱。哦，竭力保守圣灵所赐合而为一的心。主，我们感谢赞美你，与我们同在。今天 Isaiah 没有来，哦主，我们把 Isaiah 交在你手中。主啊，你与他同在，也把费交在你手中，与他们同在。谢谢你赐福给我们在座的每一个家庭，每一个人。谢谢恩主，这样祷告感恩是奉我主耶稣基督的名。Amen。
Amen. All right. Till next week, everybody. Bye bye.